Welcome to Motormouth's podcast, Season 1, Episode 5, featuring Brad Hanson. Unfortunately, due to some technical issues, we had some problems with the audio on this interview, but we did our best to make the corrections needed, and we just wanted to let you guys know that the audio may not be the best quality, but the content is great. Enjoy.
Back out on that road again from Columbus to Greenville, eating up the mileage on our horses made of steel. Starting out, we got a long way to ride with the wind in our face and the sun tan in our...
Welcome to episode next of the Motormouths podcast, the official podcast of the Columbus, Georgia Ride for Miracles. I noticed our brothers in Iowa have a YouTube channel now. God bless them. They're getting ready to take off Monday on their trip.
Looks like a fun trip.
Yeah, it does. Hot.
It's going to be hot.
Of course, how can it be hotter than here? Remember, get over to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe, and you're able to watch the videos. You're also able to speed them up if you're short on time, and all the podcast platforms. So everybody with an Apple iPhone, you got the Apple Podcast, so feel free to jump over there. You can listen there. You can speed that up as well. Imagine if you hear us talking at double speed, and then you put us down to slow speed. It sounds like we're wasted. So anyway, I'm Brian.
I'm Ronnie.
And I'm real excited about today. Today's a good day. But before we get started, I got another Lorelei story.
Good. I haven't heard one in a minute.
This is the world of Lorelei and how she operates and thinks. So if you can imagine getting your 4 or 5-year-old to bed, then you get them to stay in bed. That's hard. Well, now we're in school. School started. Yes, she's in pre-K. And so they get everybody settled down for bed. And Lorelei comes into Katie's bedroom and shakes her and wakes her up. Mama, can I sleep with you? No, Lorelei, school, you got to go sleep in your own bed. But Mama, when I sleep in my own bed, I'm sad. Do you want me to be sad and lonely?
Sad and lonely. She had to throw that in there.
So Katie said no.
Good for her.
And Lorelei got in bed with Josh and Katie, and everybody had a good night's sleep. So I think I'll ask Linda if she wants me to be sad and lonely.
I was just thinking the same thing.
I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, let me know how that goes. For sure.
I will. So again, real excited about this episode. This kind of is going to lay the foundation for all the others. This is the first in a series of Get to Know the Riders a Lot Better. And we just want to take you a little bit behind the ride, behind the person, let you get to know them on a more personal level. So today we have our buddy, Brad. Woo! Thanks. We're sitting in his shop here with his house truck and all of the other stuff out here. It's not too bad in here. So anyway, Brad.
Nice little man cave.
Yes. It ain't little.
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. You can fit an RV in it. It's not little.
Yeah, but the RV can't go out with the awning out. But anyway,
that's a story for a later episode. Or maybe later this episode.
Not Motormouths. That would be Motorhomes podcast. We can have one of those too.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I like that.
Brad, thanks for having us out, and look forward to talking.
Absolutely. All right, so Brad, tell us about growing up. Where you're from? Where's Brad from?
Well, I was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. I guess I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My mom, I had a brother that's passed, but then I still have a brother and sister that are still alive, and they're off over in Oklahoma. Growing up, was a busy kid, mostly sports. I mean, if I had a ball, I was playing down at the ballpark, and neighborhood kids and everybody get together. So I graduated from high school, and I was playing baseball. So I went off on a baseball scholarship down in Oklahoma for a couple years. I came back home And then I went 2 more years at a college, Friends University at Wichita. And man, after those 4 years, I was done with school. I was so close. I was going to be a teacher, teach math and coach baseball was mine. And I was so close. I only had a few hours left, but I did not want to do that. That is not what I wanted to do. Had a cousin that was doing it, had another friend, and it was just, I didn't like the stories I heard. So during that time, I got a job. Actually, my last year that I was playing baseball. This is a good one. I needed a job. My stepfather worked at Cessna Aircraft there in Wichita, and he was able to get me in contact with people, and they gave me a job in September of '72 is when it was. That was my last year of school. So I was going to school. I was working at Cessna from 3:30 at night to 12:30 in the morning. I'd go home, go to bed, and then I'd get and go to school. And then baseball practice came around in the spring. So then I had baseball practice, and I don't know how you can work for a company like that and they let me go play baseball. Um, you know, any of you that have been in manufacturing and they talk about productivity and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I was a missing person half the time. So I just amazing that was able to happen. So I finished my last year of baseball, and that was my fourth year of college, and I was done. I did not want to go teach. Um, so, gosh, then I met my wife Jan there.
So
at
I'm
Cessna.
going to interrupt there.
Yeah.
So you and I met for the first time in 2013, but there are so many parallels in our lives. I want to say, I don't know the exact ages, like 74, 64, 54, 44.
Yeah.
You, me, Brad, and Cody, we all stair step like that. And so I want you to dig a little into that story, how you met Jan. Not all the details, because I know those too, but dig into that one a little bit because it parallels my story.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell my story later, but
Well, when I was working at Cessna on second shift, and I met Jan's brother. Didn't know her at the time, but I met him there. And of course, we started palling around and going places. And he was 3 years older than I am. Found out we went to the same elementary school. Didn't know each other. Lived not more than 10 blocks away from each other, but didn't know each other. So we got to running around. And then, I don't know, it was 73, 74, something like that. And Jan started working out there at Cessna and on second shift. So now it was three of us piling around. And God, we was on a bowling team that would start at 1:30 in the morning. And
wow.
Yeah, they had second shift bowling team. So we'd go do that. Gonna get up and then I'd sleep on all day long. But let's see. Actually, I take that back. We actually met before she started working at Cessna. There was a party they were having at Jan's aunt's house. And so Mike and I got off at 12:15, 12:30. We ran to his house so he could get an album. God, I can't remember which one it was. James something. You'll know. Yeah, it's famous guy. He wasn't my kind of music, but we went over. We got that album. Went to the party, and played cards and everything late that night. And I fell asleep at the card table. But when we got done, they all went, and Mike went and laid on the sofa, and Jan headed to a bedroom. And next morning, of course, I'm sitting at the kitchen table sleeping like this, and I wake up, and there she was at the table reading a newspaper. and that was our first meeting. So had we not ran around the three of us together, I think, as far as compadres after work, I don't know if we'd ever met and got married or anything, but that's how that story went.
Wait till I tell mine. It is eerily similar.
Yeah.
Eerily similar. So I'm from Indiana originally. You're from Kansas. What do we have in common there other than basketball?
Well, I was going to say college basketball.
Right. Tornadoes.
Well, tornadoes.
Tornado. So
Yes.
April 3rd, 1974, tornado came through, tore my hometown down. But I know you guys dealt with tornadoes, so
Yeah.
I know, but you got a bit of history with you and your dad. So tell
Yeah.
us about that history with your dad.
Well,
Tornadoes.
I will. About a little bit, I'm going to finish. My parents divorced when I was 10. And like I said, I'm the oldest of four. So my mom raised four of us from the age when I was 10 to 17, high school, senior in high school, and then she got remarried. She's not living today, but man, I wish she was around so I could talk about those days because oh, her so much. I cannot imagine raising four kids by myself. And she did it and then even had a job, got a job. But my dad was a policeman. I think he started in the police force in Wichita, Kansas in 1949, I think. They bought a house there. And then he was a policeman up until he got a divorce. Then he couldn't afford being a policeman. So he went off on other tangents. But you talk about tornadoes and my dad. 3 years ago, somewhere around January, February, maybe it was, could have been early December, we got a phone call from Wichita, Kansas. And they're telling us this story about the Thunderbolt tornado sirens. And you need to go Google those. But they were the first ones made out of Chicago. Thunderbolt. And of course, back in the 50s, what were they installed for? Air raids and bombs and stuff. That was during all that Cold War stuff. And so that's what they were built for. And they had some installed in Wichita. Well, long story short, Kansas City made a plan to start using those for severe weather. Wichita decided, hey, we're going to copy that. We're going to do that. So they tested, ran the tornadoes, did some tests, this and that. Well, they had never been used for tornadoes before. And in June of, God, what year was that? 58. June of 58. My dad was working second shift as a dispatcher with the police department. Weather Bureau come on and they give them that there was a severe weather and possible tornado going to hit in East Wichita. So my dad he makes the calls. He calls one up, couldn't reach the person, called the next one up, couldn't reach the person, and 5 minutes later he went over and he hit the button and sent off a tornado siren in the east part of Wichita. And if you go read, there's some stories about how that actually gave some people a couple minutes, and a tornado did hit over there, but they were able to save their lives. And this information we got from the Sedgwick County disaster group is that's the first time that the siren was used for severe weather for a tornado. First time in that they can find in the world.
And now we get a test every Saturday.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We didn't know anything about that. Dad never said a word about it. So it was pretty cool. So we were invited to Wichita. They had a ribbon cutting. They had taken that. They have four of the original Thunderbolts, had them restored, and then took that one, which is the oldest one, and moved it from where it was. It went off and have put it up. It's up in Park City at the fire station up there. So they did a ribbon cutting, and they invited us to come. And he was honored at that. And we actually got to cut the ribbon. Neat story that goes along with that is when we were there, and we did nothing of this. So um, we meet family of a gentleman that was in Wichita that back in the 50s, he took it upon himself to go to Tulsa and learn how to maintenance these things. And so both of these, my dad and this gentleman, were honored, and their families were there. And because he didn't get paid anything, he just went over Joplin, not Tulsa, went over to Joplin, I believe it was, and got training on it. And so then this Mr. Marr was the gentleman at the civil defense or what a disaster. He says, I got one more to tell you. He says, we found your dad's grave, and it's in Wichita, Whitechapel. We found this other gentleman's grave. They are 50 yards apart from each other.
Goodness. Wow.
Had he not gone to that effort to find, even who would go think to go look at that?
Yeah,
And that's pretty cool.
that's incredible.
Yeah. So we've got a notebook, scrapbook, and stuff that they put together, and pretty neat story.
That is a very
Never
neat
knew
story.
about it.
So let's kind of transition here. So tell us how you got from Wichita to Columbus.
Well, that was through Cessna. Um, I had been working at Cessna. I hadn't planned on, when I got the job at Cessna, I just needed a job. I needed to make some money, finish college, and which that all changed. But Cessna's like a little city, man. You can move here and there and go to lots of different types of jobs, which I was fortunate to be able to do. I did finish my degree in business, which that got me into finance, and then I finally became got in the materials and became manager of materials production control in Wichita. So in February 2005, vice president hits up my boss, says, know anybody that wants to go to Columbus, Georgia? Columbus had a facility down here. They bought Cessna, I think, back in '96, and then so they had a facility. And what Cessna does is we make airplanes, and the facility here in Columbus made flight controls, flaps, ailerons, rudders, stabilizers, and all that. We'd make some of our own parts, procure parts that came in, and then we'd put these together, put them in transport, and put them in trucks, and off they'd go to Wichita. And Independence, Kansas also made some single engine stuff. So, and at the same time, McCauley is here. And I'll talk about McCauley in a little bit. But so there's two buildings. We had aircraft and we had McCauley in the two buildings. 2005, in February, my boss comes to me and says, VP wants to know if you got anybody that wants to go to Columbus. And that's to work as material requirements and plan parts and schedule. And I said, no, I'll ask. I said, if nobody wants to go, I'll go. We were just walking down the aisle there in the plant. So it wasn't a few weeks later, and Roger, my boss, comes back and he says, VP, says, you just want to go down there and ride your motorcycle. And I just grinned because I had just gotten a motorcycle in 2004. And long story short, there was a lot of talk going back and forth before you know it. In July of 2005, I'm coming to Columbus and going to be the materials manager here in Columbus. And there's plans to expand another building and lots of different things. So I got on my motorcycle, put a big box, a moving box of clothes that hung up in my golf clubs in this box, took them over and put them on the dock in Wichita for the truck to bring to to Columbus because they bring transport dollies back and forth. And I rode my motorcycle down here. And then so that's what got us down here. I had flown down here. No, I'm not a pilot, but we would take the company jet and come down because these folks they reported back to Wichita. And they didn't report to me. They had their own bosses and stuff, but come down and take a look and give thoughts and ideas. And every time I come down here, it was beautiful. No wind. Kansas, they call Chicago the Windy City. Kansas is blowing all the time. And just loved it here. So when they made the offer, talked to Jan and about it, and we kind of thought, we had 2 kids that had gone off to college and one about leaving in August. And we just said, well, some people make this move and some don't. Why can't we be the ones that do? If it doesn't work out, we'll come back home. And I've been here since then. We've been here since
You said
2005.
you could go back home, so
Yep.
is Columbus home now?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There isn't family. I miss all my friends, obviously. Friends is what
Right.
makes your work and all that, but miss that. But no, this is home. We're not going anywhere. Like it here.
Again, so many parallels. So I got my bike in October of 2005, right here in Columbus.
Wow.
And I remember going back and forth to Indiana, being in Indiana, saying, I got to go back to Georgia, and being in Georgia saying, oh, I'm going home next weekend. And I remember when that flipped, and I'm in Indiana and I say, man, I'm going home. I'm going home.
Yeah.
So this is home for me as well. Yep. So anyway, bikes, great segue. What got you into motorcycles? What did you start riding? How long have you been riding, and what are you riding now?
73. I'd started work in 72, living at home, not paying rent. Yeah, I had lots of money. Though there was a guy that helped assistant coach my last year at Friends University there in Wichita. He had a motorcycle, and I always thought it was pretty cool. It was, and I had ridden dirt bikes a little bit. Some friends of mine had them, but I had never ridden one much. He had a Norton 750 Commando, and I said, I got to have one of those. So yeah, I think it was in September, and I bought a 73, and I bought a 74 Norton 750 Commando High Rider. So if you ever go look those up, they're not a big bike. They're British made, but they had high-rise handlebars and then a little sissy seat, almost like the old Stingray bicycles that we used to ride. And that's what they had. So I had that bike. 16 days after I had that, because I'm still working second shift, right? And I had gone over some people's house and said, hey, what are you doing? I'm on my way home. And I'm coming along McLean Boulevard, it's right along the river. Obviously not a seasoned rider. And I see this car backing up. He had gone over, it's a 4-lane street, and he had gone started over the bridge, but he had turned short and he's on the wrong side. So he's backing out. I'm coming this way. You know me, I'm hitting brakes, and you don't hit the front brake and turn. Do not do that. And I did. Bike went down. I slid on my stomach, and that bike hit the back of that car. And, I scuffed up my belt and rubbed a few holes in my jacket, but I was fine. Tow truck driver gave me a ride home. Almost the only thing I got back out of that bike was the engine. So I had that, and I rode that. Our son Jeff was born in 79, and it was 79, and he was born in October, so it had to be in the spring. We had a friend worked out at Cessna, and he had gotten in a wreck, and you didn't have to wear a helmet in Kansas, but I always wear a helmet. And he had hit his head, and it really messed him up. Sold the bike. I had kids coming, and so sold the bike. And then I didn't, that was in, like I said, probably 80, spring of 80, and I didn't buy another one till 2004, October of 2004. Well, I had this thing, it was sort of an agreement, but when I turn 55, I'm going to get me a motorcycle. All the kids be gone, and I'm going to get me another motorcycle. And I think it was actually when I was 54, and we ended up putting a swimming pool in at our house. And I don't know, we were talking to Jan and said, well, if you get a swimming pool, I'm going to get my motorcycle. So September, I went out. In October, I dropped back me a Heritage Classic. Heritage. Loved that motorcycle.
White. So stay with me.
Yep.
In 1980, I got my first motorcycle, rode that for a little while, 1980. Yeah. And then I let that go, got married, had kids. I was 43 in 2005 and bought me a what? Heritage. I still did not know you from Adam yet, and look at all this stuff that's just bouncing right.
That's wild. Wow.
Yeah. So that's so I don't know how many years, if you count the first 5 years maybe on that Norton, never went much on the road with it. I rode to Oklahoma and back one time. The mufflers had rusted out, so I took them off and put baffles in it. Talk about noisy.
Kind of like my Heritage.
So stupid. Yeah, I don't know if it was as loud as yours with long shots on there. That's funny. Yeah. And been riding since. So 2004 to now, plus 5 years. What I've been riding. I added mine up. I'm at 250,000 miles, 225,000.
Nice.
And what I'm riding now, you ask? When I bought that Heritage, my brothers both had Honda Gold Wings. No, one had a Valkyrie, one had a Gold Wing. You need to get a Honda. If you go getting you a Harley, you're going to have bolts and nuts and bolts dropping off in the back and everything. And I finally decided that if I didn't get my Harley Davidson, then I might never. So I bought the Classic. Traded that when I retired in 2012 for a Ultra. Traded that. Actually, I sold that one and bought Kevin Sims's bike, which was another Ultra, but it was a low. And neat bike. When I say little, it's Ultra lows are 1 3/4 inches, I think, shorter, a little rougher riding. Had to get a different seat than the stock seat on that thing. Ooh. And I rode that. I rode it on one of the trips, but it's. So I had a wild hair this past winter. Yeah. I said
you were involved in that wild hair, weren't you?
That was a cool trip. That was a nice trip.
I bought me a Gold Wing, and I traded that Ultra Low for the Gold Wing. Actually, I had to go to Wichita, Kansas to get it. They had a
cool road trip.
It was. It was. We were going to ride our bikes.
We were
up there.
It was like December, though, right? It was
January 14th.
Yep.
No, wait a minute. I got the wrong date. January 12th, I believe. The 14th is another date that's.
His memory's a whole lot better than mine.
Yeah.
So it was January, December.
But it was January.
It was.
And it got really cold that week and it was going to rain. And you called and said, hey, I can get a trailer. Yeah, let's do that. So we left on Sunday morning. We left on Sunday morning.
Is that right?
Yeah, we left Saturday. Because it was Monday when we went and got it, and we were back Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
well, and one of the reasons, and a lot of people are going to say, well, some people may think, oh, you guys ride all these miles and everything. Why didn't you just ride to go get it? Well, think about this. You've been on a Heritage, on an Ultra Limited for all these years. You got all these miles on it, and now you're switching to a completely different bike, a Honda Goldwing, which they're great bikes. You've got a beautiful bike, and I've said this publicly. If I ever was going to switch teams and go to a Honda, that would be the bike I would get. I mean, but to ride fresh on a new bike like that, all the way from out there home, not knowing what the weather's going to do, it's going to be cold, raining, or whatever. It's just you got to think a little bit, and it really wouldn't be safe. Not that you're not a capable rider, which you definitely are. It's different, to put all those miles on a brand new bike, and you're not familiar with the controls, how it handles, and all this stuff. You haven't fitted the handlebars to you and made the adjustments you need to make and everything. So that's kind of the reason why. Plus, it really gave us a time to converse and talk, and got to learn some things about you that I didn't know. And we visited a few things while we were there, and you showed me around Wichita and all that stuff, and it was just a really cool trip. And while we're talking about it, it really brought forth to my mind how we're a riding group that really we ride once a year. A lot of the guys. Some guys ride all the time. Gary McDowell, he rides, and he does he rides more than anybody in the group, probably off the Miracle Ride, more than all of us put together. But you made one comment during that trip that really stuck with me, because I was talking about the new guys that we had, like Jason and Todd, and just some new guys, and some of the rookies that we had that year, and I was talking about how good of guys they are and how they fit well with the group and how they're going to bring a lot to the group. But you made the comment and said, man, I'll never get to ride with those guys. And kind of a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, why is that? That shouldn't be that way, because we need to ride more regular, which is why we do a once a month ride, and we may go somewhere and ride to eat. But it gives guys that either one can't do the long ride because of work or whatever reason, they can't get off of work, or whatever reason that we don't have everybody do the full ride. Well,
that was why I said I may never get to ride.
Right, and so
I'm 99.9%.
Yeah, but we do these little rides, and it's a day ride, and we ride over somewhere. We might find a good spot. We've had a couple of cool places we've gone and had lunch. You've done a couple of them with us, now, and even Rick doesn't really ride two wheels anymore, but he actually broke his old bike out on one of the rides that we did, and he rode to lunch with us and rode back home, and it was cool to be back in the saddle again, riding with Rick and having him on two wheels again. So it's just a way too for the guys that can't, that are either they're like you said, too old, which I don't think too old, but I mean you get to a point where you're done, or you're done with the long rides. So anyway, it just gives it's a time, and you can bond with people when you ride with them, when you sit down and eat with them and you converse with them. You really get to bond with them and all that. And so, speaking on that, how did you get connected with Scott and the Miracle Ride?
Well, that's an easy one. I mean, Scott is our link on most of everybody, I think. When I moved here in September 2005, in December, I joined the hog group. I didn't know anybody, and thought, well, I'll join a hog group and then do some rides. And I think at that time, Scott might have been the chapter director, I think. If he wasn't then, he was a few years after that. So just being in the hog group and going on a few rides and things with the hog group is how I met Scott. Of course, he went in 2009. The first ride was 2010, which you went on. He asked me, Brad, he said, why don't you come on this ride? And now I'm back to Cessna. In 2009 of December, Cessna, the economy was bad. If you all remember, we lost all of our investments and all that, or at least half of it. But Cessna decided they're going to close here and move everything to Mexico. So when 2010 rolled around and he's getting this ride together, I said, Scott, I can't really go now. It's just too quick for me. I said, let me work on, I will shoot for 2011. And that's how I got on 2011, which we were still working to get everything transitioned to Mexico, but went on the ride anyway. Gone 3 weeks.
Yeah. So for those people that don't know, Hog Group is Harley Owners Group. So it's Harley only. And when I bought my bike, believe it or not, nobody told me about Hog. I didn't know anything about it, or I would have met you in 2005. Nobody told me anything. I bought it right here, and I didn't know anything about the Harley Owners Group at all.
Maybe
Didn't know
it's
a thing.
not that way all over the country, but I mean, when I bought mine, it was automatic. They put you in.
I got National Hog, but I didn't know anything about the local people. Nobody reached out to me. Nobody said, "Hey, come ride with us."
They just didn't want to ride with you.
Yeah. Yeah, they went, "Ooh, not him."
Yeah.
He's from Indiana. We don't want to ride with him. No, I'm just kidding.
So how many years have you been in the Miracle Ride? So you almost could have been in that first rookie class.
Almost.
But
and that would have been kind of neat just to have that on, to wear it right here.
Yeah.
But so this is my 15th.
Yeah.
2011, my first ride. And when I think back, I haven't gone on as many rides as some of the folks that have come in longer. I rode 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 on the 48 states. I did go to Sioux City, I think, in 16, I think we went up there, but 17 was Alaska, and I did that. And then I missed all those little short guys.
You did Columbus.
And I did Columbus, which was after the 50.
You didn't do Magoo?
I didn't do Magoo. And I can't tell you why now. Columbus was when I told myself I'm done. It was just my shoulders and my neck. I was miserable the whole time. I think I was overdosing in ibuprofen and
Aleve.
and Aleve and all that. Yes. Yeah.
So let's rewind just a little bit and go back to when we were talking before. Tell us about Macaulay and Cuff. Go a little more in detail on that.
Yeah. Well, Macaulay, and I mentioned that you had Cessna up here. They did aircraft parts. Macaulay is Macaulay Propeller Division. Macaulay actually originated in Dayton, Ohio, back in the 30s, 38, 40. Cessna bought them. And this was our VP again that I had contact with, but he decided he's going to move Macaulay to Columbus, Georgia to put him with the aircraft that we had. Sounded pretty cool, didn't it? So you have two different, they not even close to what they do. I don't even think we've made a whole lot of our own parts at Macaulay. So that's the two divisions. So Cuff is Cessna United Friendship Fund. And it was a employee participation fund where if you wanted to, you could donate a certain percent, certain dollar amount every one of your paychecks to the Cuff. And then Cuff turned around and they donated to United Way. They did probably like the food bank. If you had hurricane disaster or whatever, they might donate money. So it was a 501c3 that employees could donate their money to, and it went out to good causes. So 2000, and this is kind of got my dates mixed up a little bit, but Cuff was Cessna. It wasn't Macaulay. It was Cessna group here, and of course we're shipping everything to Mexico, and we're closing up in 2012. Since I rode in 2011, I think I went to them in 11. They were actually our sponsor, our what do we call that? Presenting sponsor for 1 year, and I don't know if it was 11 or 12, because they donated $10,000. They had a lot of money in Cuff still, and they were looking for a place they could help. And they liked our what we do, and so they did that 1 year, and that dissolved Cuff. Then now you have Macaulay, and so every year Macaulay has what they call, and of course Cessna is not Cessna anymore, and it's Textron. I should have mentioned that earlier, but Cessna was bought out by General Dynamics, then Textron bought them from General Dynamics. So it really, and the old Cessna folks, we could never get away from that. We were always Cessna. If we sitting here talking, we were Cessna, even though we were Textron. But Textron had a Textron uplift. So if you see some old pictures, I had my black 2012 Ultra, and I had Textron uplift. Same thing. They would donate whatever a wrap was, and they've done that every year. It's just that they believe in what we do.
And even after you retired,
Yes,
with Ronnie Oakes coming on,
Yes.
who works there, and so they have been a huge supporter of the
They have.
ride
they
since you
have.
joined. Right.
They sure have.
Thank you. Look what you brought.
So-
Yeah. So Macaulay's
Well,
still here, right?
Macaulay's
So
still
thank you,
here.
Macaulay employees. We appreciate that.
Yes. The reason it didn't go to Mexico is because Macaulay makes government stuff. They actually make this big blade. It's not as big as an RV, but it's for the Predator. That big old Predator is as
Yeah.
big as this garage that for the military. So they couldn't send
Good.
to Mexico.
America.
So
It'd
they-
be hard to justify.
so it's still here.
Contract, yeah.
And it's down there by MediaCom on Cargo Drive. And they're still down there. Some of the people that I worked with are still there.
Yeah, we won't get into the original Thirsty Thursday group, but
Yeah.
Don, Russ, appreciate you.
I got in on the tail end of that
You
a
did.
little bit.
You did.
got
I
to
just
meet-
horned my way in, but
yeah.
So
Went to a
anyway,
couple of
let's go back to the ride. So you've done it now. You did it in 11, 12. I met you in 13. So you're doing it. When did you have that aha moment that this isn't about me? Or did you?
I'm going to say I actually did. I actually did have that moment. You remember when back in 11 and 12 when we were riding for Children Miracle Network, we'd go to the neonatal unit, we'd go to pediatrics. This is what we're about, guys. We're doing this. We're purchasing things for kids. On those first few trips on the 48 states during that time, there were hospitals that we visited on the way. I'm thinking it's the first year. And one of the places we stopped was Amarillo. It wasn't Albuquerque, it was Amarillo. We stayed the night there and got up next morning and went there. Did our visit. And we go in, we're in our hats and dusters walking through the hospital. Man, everybody's like, what these guys, And you go into a room to see the kids that are in there, and they've got, whatever they were in there for. And what happened is I think it was myself and Pat Carpenter, I think. And we were taken around the corner and down this hallway and over to a room. And I'm getting chicken skin. They walked in, and there's this 8-year-old boy, 8, 9, and I remember his name was Daniel, in there by himself. Cold room. God, it was cold. Bald, and he had cancer. And it just hit you. That's what it's all about. Those kids don't deserve that. And that's what we ride for. And I know that was it. I can still remember his name. And a lot of those we went into the rooms. Sometimes the parents were there, but God's parents had to work. Couldn't be there all the time. And this little fellow's in there all by himself. He talked to us. He was pretty cool. But I know that was it. And I'm pretty sure it was 2011, which would have been my first year. And we were,
Did you know that?
That was his
Good
aha
story.
moment. I did not
No,
know that was his moment.
we all have a different way how we got in.
Yeah.
And if we got it, so I will say maybe not everybody has it. You have that aha moment. And then you're hooked.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you realize what this is all about.
and I won't get too far in, but how those first few years, we would ride and do our TV stuff on the road and then get in at 7 o'clock at night. And God, how come we're doing this? Why can't we get in earlier and get? And of course, Scott said, "Look, these kids don't have it easy. And why should we? Why should we look like we're out having a great time when we do this?" And so I always understood why. Do I like getting in at 7 o'clock? No, but I always understood it from that point on.
Okay, so on your rookie ride, you're a rookie, and you asked for a deviation that year. What was in your mind? What were you thinking?
I mean, I think back to that because I've been asked that a number of times, and I can't find it other than, and again, the early rides, I didn't have GPS. I didn't even have CB on that all I had was radio. So we're just following. And we knew we were going to 48 states. Well, that morning we get up.
I think we stayed all night in Fort Smith that night. We're heading up the highway to Joplin, and I thought, dang, we're going to go through Joplin, and then I found out we were going to Baxter Springs, and then stay all night in Oklahoma City. So I'm riding, and I'm in the middle. I hadn't graduated up to the front yet. So I'm riding in the middle, and I'm thinking, wonder if it'd be all right if we went by Joplin, go by the school. And so that, and I don't know what possessed. It had been a year, I think, since I had been to Joplin to see the sign for memorial for Jonathan. And we were only 2 or 3 miles outside of town, 5, 6 miles. There's a gas station outside. I remember it was on the left-hand side. There were guys, I can remember stuff that's weird. There were guys that bought bottles of that bug stuff, you spray on your bike. That was, never heard of it before. I remember stopping at that station, and I went up to Scott. Hey, Scott, I said, you think we'd be able to stop off at the college down here? And I don't remember if I even told him. He's got a story he remembers, and I remember stuff and some of it. But I just asked, and he said, "Yeah, we can do that. I mean, we're on a mission. We ain't got time to be stopping off at the school."
We get down there and a couple miles out, and he waves me up. He didn't wave me up. He waved. Somebody else waved. Somebody pointed at me and waved. It just kind of came back. And so I took the lead and took us over to the school, over to the soccer field.
So that's another unfortunate parallel that you and I share, in that we both lost a child. So you are a rookie on this ride, and you go up and ask Scott for a deviation, and nobody knows why, and Scott says yes, because Scott doesn't say no. You just ask him, he'll say yes. And so now you've got all these guys that you probably barely know. You don't know all of them. And you take them to this soccer field, and they're following Scott dutifully, wondering, why are we here? And then you have to tell that story. So tell what that experience was like, and then just tell me about Jonathan.
So yeah, we pull up, and I don't remember asking for hats and dusters, but we did it. And what we did was we walked over to the field, and that sign up there that's on our that I've got up there, that was dedicated or memorialized by the girls soccer team the year right after he died, and they put that on the fence. And we had got to go see it a time or so, and that's what I wanted to go see. And yeah, I didn't know I was going to have the kind of trouble I did to tell that story, but I told it, and I told it like in chronological order, that we got the phone call, and he's up there. Jonathan was at school there. And it's almost his last year. He was basically a senior and going to be a fifth year for one more semester. But I'll get back to that. It was about talking to the guys, first of all. So I had to tell the story about how we got the phone call and that Jonathan was playing basketball and had passed on the court and being rushed to the hospital, and they never wasn't ever able to resuscitate him. And it happened to be a heart issue. Um, so just talking about that and telling the guys, and I know it surprised them, and then there wasn't a dry eye on the field. I don't know. It just didn't plan on all that. It was just, hey guys, my son played here, and actually I had two sons play here, and this Jonathan had passed, and just thought it'd be cool to see it. But yeah, Jonathan was the youngest of our um, three kids, and he passed in 2009. He was 22. Like I said, he was a soccer player. Um, he was a good kid. Jonathan was a good kid. A couple of things that are unique about him was, when you have kids, when they do things, maybe get a bad grade or doing something, and so you're going to straighten that up, or you're not going to get to play soccer, or you have to go to your room. You're going to be taken from the TV and go to your room for a while. Well, Jonathan was one of those kids that, no big deal to me. It was like it was hurting us more than him. So we had a hard time trying to find that key for him that, hey, listen, this is important, and if you don't, here's the consequence. So that's a funny story about him. He grew to be 6'5". Don't know where he got that height. I had a tall grandmother. She was probably 6'2". Probably from Jan. Yeah.
No, that's where you got the rugged good looks.
Yeah, there you go. He took up he wasn't really fast as a runner, so he kind of took up goalkeeping. Here's another story about him. He was on this team, like a competitive team, when he was 11, 12. They had three Johns. So they had Little John, Middle John, and Big John. And so he was always Big John or BJ, Big John. But he took up goalkeeping. And at those early ages like that, God, he hated to be scored on. He just thought he let the team down. And we watched World Cup. It's not always the goalie's fault. But I don't know how he ever got that changed in him. He became a very good goalie. As a matter of fact, in the fall of 2008, before he passed, their team wasn't very good. I don't know what their record was, but they lost more than they won. But he made all conference goalie. And when you go look at all conference and first teams and all this, they're usually on the winning team, or second place team or something. They were way down there, but I swear his team had a lot of shots against them. So I think what happened was his goals against all the shots he had to face got him that. He was pretty good, and he was so tall and lanky, and it was fun.
So my first year was 2013, and we went. Of course, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know you. I didn't know your story. So that's the first time I'd heard that. Kept all that to myself, my story to myself. And just because of the ride and where we go, there's not a Columbus near Joplin. So maybe that year we didn't go. I don't recall. We don't get to go to Joplin every year, but we do make it a point anytime we're close, we try to go to Joplin. And I think if you didn't have an aha moment, then you should. But anyway, another thing, and I wore this shirt on purpose. So a couple years ago, donors would pay to sponsor the sleeve. And sometimes they're a bit of a memorial. And somebody did this and didn't tell you.
They did not.
And then you saw the shirt and you knew exactly what it was?
Well, I'm going to be really honest with you. There were pictures. I didn't get to go to that meeting when we were having the meeting for I think the next ride. Or it had to be for that. But somebody was wearing that shirt, and I don't remember if it was Karen or who it was. And I in these pictures, and I'm looking, well, what is all that? And I could not figured out what it was. So I write on there. I says, what's this? What's on that sleeve? And she goes, you don't know? And I said, no. And then I think she took a close picture of it, and then I found out who did it. And wow. Yeah.
Well, that started a trend. So ever since
Yeah.
then, the sleeves now
And I
are
like that.
tribute, memoriam, still paid for, still sponsored, but yeah, snuck back in there.
We sure did.
So bad, you really didn't realize when you asked for that deviation, um, what would the dynamic, how the dynamic would change in the group, because like you said earlier, not a dry eye there, and I remember it vividly. We were standing there, and it's hard to share something like that with people, and to open your heart up, because that's really what you did. I mean, you really did. But with guys that you'd really had only known for a few days, to do that, I don't think you had no idea, and no one else had any idea of how that deviation created the brotherhood. And I don't know when it happened, or when the realization was there that it did happen. And I don't know who realized it first, but it just kind of, I don't know. It's just one of those moments that forever changed the ride in all of our opinions. And just and I don't, and by doing it, I don't think you had any idea that's what would happen. You just wanted to go by and see Jonathan's memorial there.
We were going to go right by there.
Well, it turned into a great tradition, and any of the guys who've never been by there to hear the story. And then just this past year, we were fortunate enough to be joined with Jan, and she came out there and shared that moment with us, which really made it even more special, to have her there. It was incredible.
So let me ask you a question then.
Okay.
So you were there that first year. You were there when this all broke, and when did it hit you? When did you think, oh wow? I mean, I'm sure you had all kinds of thoughts about Brad and Jan and the family and all that, but when did it hit you like, oh my God?
I don't think there's really a definitive answer to that. I mean, it's just, when did you fall in love with Linda? When did you, what I'm saying?
I saw her.
Well, I mean, I get that, but I'm saying it's hard to put that into a time frame, because I don't think consciously you really know. It's something you feel in your heart. I mean, it really is. It's just, the moment was special, and men, and I don't know, this is kind of a tangent here, but sometimes we get the question, why are women not allowed to go on the ride with you guys? It's kind of that situation right there. Men typically tend to hold stuff in, and for a man to open his heart up and open himself up in front of the guys and people he barely knows, to tell the story. And I didn't realize at the time either that it was as recent as it was. I thought it had happened, had been years had gone by. I didn't realize that it was as fresh for you guys as it was, which
makes telling that story
absolutely makes it even harder. Not that you don't doesn't get easier to tell the story. You just learn how to tell it, and it's not as, you still feel it, because but I don't know. You can't really. I can't put an exact moment on it when I realized it was a brotherhood. But I just know that it drew me close to Brad, for him opening up and telling that story, and it forever changed me, because it's like people always say this: you never know You never know when something's going to happen. You never know. You never know when your time's up. So, live your life and enjoy every moment, and just I don't know. I can't put a time on it. So, but it just happened. It was just something that happened, and it's here, and it'll forever be here.
Yeah. Well, when we get to talking about me, I'll tell you mine when it was my turn. But you were there that day. I was not there that day. So.
You know, I'm like what you said is I'm not sure when it actually happened or happens, but I can tell you when it does happen, and it's, and I'm not going to name any names, but we have riders in our group that go on trips, on their own trips. They will, all of a sudden my phone will go off and there's a picture of the school because they're there. And and I just not going to single them out, but they have gone out on vacation or whatever and they send back a picture and I went, wow. We went to Wichita. He said we went to some places. Another Jonathan story. Jonathan loved Taco Pronto. It's a Taco Tico. It was Taco Pronto. And he loved that. He'd go there and he had his meal. And it was 3 tacos, a Sancho, and a taco burger. I tried eating that once. It's tough to do. So I digress. We went to Wichita to get the Gold Wing. Ronnie says, "Hey, could we go?" We in our conversation, I said, "Yeah, every year, Jan and I, whenever we're in Wichita, we go by the Taco Prano to have a John meal, and then we go next door to the church that we used to go to, and they have a memorial garden, and that's where Jonathan's ashes are." We're driving in town, and we're headed. I think we were doing some Facebook marketplace. But he says, "Hey, could we do this?" And he wanted to go Taco Prano and have a meal and go over to the memorial garden. That's a moment. That is the brother. Yeah. And yes.
I wanted to be respectful too, because I did not want to intrude on um, their normal thing that they like to do when they're there, And I was like, hey, if it's okay with if it's okay with you and Jan, I would be honored to go by there, not to share the meal, to go see where he liked to eat and what he liked to eat, but also to see where his memorial is and all there at the memorial garden there. And we did, and it was a big meal. We actually split it.
Yes.
We actually split it. I never had a Sancho, never had a Sancho before, but it was really good food. I know why I liked it for sure. But I was honored to be able to share that moment.
At times when the brotherhood hits me is for that particular event. Yeah, it surely does.
So I know this is going to be hard because it would definitely be hard for me to narrow this down. And if you can't do one, more than one is definitely allowed. Give me one of your most favorite memories from the ride. Could be a place, could be a meal. I know me and you, we're foodies, so we share a lot of good meals.
And we could sit here and just say, "Do you remember this? You remember that?"
And I'll forget one, and then you'll
Yeah.
something that makes me think,
Yeah. Well, I know this is simple and maybe not silly, but one that I remember and I just loved it. We're coming home from Alaska and we're going through Montana, I think, and Sheriff said, or Wyoming, and Sheriff says, "Hey, we're really close to Custer's Last Stand at the monument or the national park. Let's go there." And of course, I don't listen to the CB. I don't listen to the phone. We're headed to Rapid City and we're turning left. Well, what are we doing now? It's and we go in there, and I thought, good God, what are we doing? And we find a place to park, and it's hot that day, I remember. And what I remember the most was I found a place to sit in the shade that was not from here to just the doorway over there.
where they had the bench set up that the park ranger tells the story. And I'm sitting there looking out this way. He's over here talking. And I found it on YouTube. It's a great story to listen to Park Ranger talk about Last Stand. And he talks about the hills and what Custer decided to do. And that was such a great stop.
With an arrow in his hand, and he points. Those trees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why that one stuck out so much. And I've always wanted to go back just because we were hot that day, and I found a nice place. The breeze was blowing, and it was a great story. So
That's cool.
This year we rode right past it again, on purpose. Rode right past it. And I'm pointing. I'm on the phone with Jason, going right there. It was closed that day though, but I was saying right there, right there.
that's a place I want to go back just because I remember it and liked it. There's so many of them.
Yeah,
For sure.
So kind of on that note, what's one area or road or place that you've just enjoyed, just thoroughly enjoyed riding?
I think that one's pretty easy because I think about it all the time. It is Highway 12 between Lewiston, Utah, and Missoula. Idaho. I said Utah. Lewiston, Clarkston, Idaho. 100 miles of 2-lane road, follows this river. I think it's Clearwater River, follows it. 100 miles with no stop. You don't have to stop as long as you got gas. And you go up through Lolo Pass. But nice, easy sweeping curves through the mountains and the trees and that river. And that, to me, is the best ride, the best road. I mean, we did Pacific One, the highway, and that was cool. But when I think about that one, that's the one I really like.
I agree.
We're going to ask all the guys that, but I bet you for the ones that have been there, that's what we're doing.
I'll be interested.
Yeah, you know you're in for a good ride when you see that sign and it said, gives you the curvy road symbol and it says next 99 miles. And you're like, let's go. But then you got all the beauty around there. Like you said, the river's running along beside there. And yeah, it's definitely my.
And the year you guys got to stop at Cusquia there and stay, that would have been cool. Something like that.
No cell service, none. It's great. You're unplugged. You have no choice. And gosh, it was
Absolutely stunning, for sure. So Brian said he's going to ask all the guys this and all, and wonder about the rookies and what they think about the ride coming up. What's some advice that you would give a first-year rider, or as we like to call them, a rookie?
Well, I guess I'm going to say I'm going to be old school. I think a rookie, my advice to a rookie is just watch, be part of the group, but don't jump in there with both feet. Don't try to be a leader. We all are A+, but you just watch. I'm going by what I felt comfortable as a rookie. I'm watching Scott. He puts his helmet on. I'm going to have my helmet on. I'm going to be ready.
We need to tell that advice to some of the senior riders.
not so rookie guys.
I did. I watched that and just stayed in my lane, and the next year or two after that, well, then you start opening up and ask for some deviations or just do it, So, but that first year, I think you just want to feel the group, feel them out, and read the room. Yes.
So, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time and telling your story. I know that's always not easy, but just to bring us home, what are you doing now? What do you do for fun? What do you like to do?
Well, I don't know. We try to travel a little bit, going to soccer games, stuff like that. I gave up golf. Don't know why, just lazy. I like to get up in the morning and have my coffee and fix a breakfast, and I'm on the laptop till noon.
Miracle Riders.
I guess that's what I like to do, but I really have to get up and do a little more.
Miracle Riders.
my brakes, buddy. But we
Bringing
got
peace to a worried mind. Miracle Riders.
so
Outlaws with a
remember
badge.
to
Miracle Riders.
anywhere where you get podcasts,
Best friends
join along.
you can.
Come see us, Ride for Miracles. That's Ronnie. That's Brian. Good night.